The coffee tastes like aluminum. That's the first thing I notice on Tuesday morning, not that it's the day my life splinters, but that the cafe I've visited every Tuesday for 3 years has somehow changed their beans, and nobody else seems to notice. I sit by the window, watching rain streak the glass in uneven patterns, and I wonder if I'm the only person in the world who pays attention to things like this. Small things, things that don't matter. My phone buzzes. Marcus. Again. I ignore it. The thing about being a court translator is that you become invisible. You stand in rooms where men in suits argue about property disputes and immigration cases, and you translate their anger into clean, professional sentences. You become the wall they speak through. You forget what it feels like to be heard directly, to be looked at, not through. I'm 28. I live alone in a studio apartment that smells like old books and the incense I burn to cover the mustiness. I have 2 friends who text me photos of their children and ask if I'm seeing anyone. I say no. They say I should try online dating. I don't. This is my life. Small, safe, forgettable. The rain hits harder. I've learned to read people through translation, not just their words, their hesitations, the catch in their breath before a lie, the way someone's jaw tightens when they're defending something they don't believe in. Today, I'm translating for a hearing downtown. Contract dispute. The defendant is a man with silver threading through his dark hair, and he sits so still that I have to watch his chest to confirm he's breathing. His lawyer does most of the talking. But once, the man leans forward just barely and he says something in Italian that his lawyer didn't ask him to say. A single sentence. Soft. Like he's speaking to someone who isn't in the room. My hands shake as I translate it. The only honor left is the one we don't sell. The judge looks confused. The lawyer looks frustrated. But I feel at that moment when something true slips through the cracks of everything polished and false. I feel seen, like he's looking directly at me through the translation, and he knows I understand. He doesn't look at me again. After the hearing, I walk to the train station. The rain has stopped, but the streets are still wet, reflecting the gray sky like a mirror of something broken. I buy a Metro card. I stand on the platform with 30 other people. A man bumps into me accidentally, I think, and apologizes in Spanish. I respond in Spanish. We don't speak again. The train arrives. I'm thinking about that man from the courtroom, about the way he sat so still, like violence was something he kept locked inside his ribs, and stillness was the cage. I'm wondering what kind of contract dispute involves men who speak like philosophers. I'm not paying attention. I don't notice the second man until he's already beside me. He's younger, olive-skinned, with a scar that pulls one side of his mouth into a permanent near smile. He smells like cologne and cigarettes. "Excuse me," he says. His English is accented. Rough. I turn to look at him, and something in my chest drops. It's an animal instinct recognition of danger, like when you see a snake and you don't know why, but you know. "I'm sorry," I say, taking a step back. "You translate," he says. Not a question. My mouth goes dry. Yes, professionally. But you were at the courthouse today. The platform is crowded. There's a woman next to me checking her phone. A teenage boy with headphones. An elderly man reading a newspaper. 30 witnesses. 30 reasons this can't be what it feels like. I translate there sometimes, I say carefully. For court-assigned cases. He smiles, or the scar makes it look like a smile. "The man you translated for. You translated something," he said. "Something not on the record." My heart is a fist in my throat. "I can't discuss client conversations," I say, which is technically true but also irrelevant because I suddenly understand that this man doesn't care about the law or confidentiality or anything that's supposed to protect me in rooms full of witnesses. "Your name is Nicoletta," he says. I never told him my name. The train doors open. The crowd begins to surge. I move with them, pushing forward, my shoulder hitting the elderly man. He mutters something. I don't apologize because I'm moving, boarding, praying he doesn't follow. He does. I don't know the city well enough to have an escape plan. I don't know if there's a safe place on the northbound 6 train at 4:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, but I move toward the back car, pressing between bodies, watching his reflection in the dark window as he moves through the crowd like water. The train lurches forward. He's 2 people behind me. I look around frantically. There has to be something, a transit cop, a camera, a person who would help if I screamed. But screaming seems insane when he hasn't actually done anything. He's just a man on a train. Just a man who knows my name and knows what I translated and is following me with the casual certainty of someone who has never had to wonder if he'd succeed. The next stop is mine. I bolt for the doors the moment they open, pushing past a woman with a stroller, my heart hammering so hard I think I might be having a heart attack at 28 in a subway station in a city that doesn't know who I am. I don't look back to see if he follows because the answer terrifies me more than the question. I run. My apartment is 6 blocks away. I know the route. I take it every day. But tonight it feels longer, darker, full of shadows that could hide anything. I'm running past the bodega on the corner, old Mr. Chen is inside, eating something from a paper bag, and past the laundromat where nobody ever seems to finish their clothes, and past the empty lot where teenagers sometimes drink. Nobody is following me now. Nobody is there. I reach my building. I fumble with my keys. My hands are shaking so badly I drop them, and they clatter on the concrete. I pick them up. My fingers are cold. The key slides into the lock. I'm inside. I'm locking the door. I'm pressing my back against it and sliding down to sit on the floor of my tiny hallway. My phone vibrates. Marcus, we need to talk. Call me. I don't call him. Instead, I sit in the darkness of my apartment, and I listen to the city sounds through the thin walls, sirens, voices, the rumble of trains underground. And I understand, with the clarity of something I've always known, that the small, safe, forgettable life I built for myself has just ended. Someone knows my name. Someone knows I heard something I wasn't supposed to hear. And in this city, in this world of men who speak in courtrooms about honor and contracts, that is not a small thing. That is everything. I don't sleep. I sit on my couch with all the lights on, listening to the creaks of my building settle around me like bones. At 3 a.m., I finally call Marcus. Where the hell have you been? His voice is rough with sleep, and something else. Fear, maybe. Marcus, I need to know what I translated today. The thing that wasn't on the record. I need to know who that man was. Silence. A long one. Jesus Christ, Nico. How much did you hear? The whole sentence. He said something about honor. About not selling it. It was Italian. And, okay. Listen to me very carefully. You didn't hear it. You don't remember it. If anyone asks, you were translating court documents the entire time. You don't know his name. You don't know anything. Marcus, someone followed me. On the train, a man with a scar. He knew. Scar on his mouth? The fact that he knows this detail crystallizes everything into something real and terrible. Yes, I whisper. That's Dominic Russo. He works for Marcus Stops. Takes a breath that sounds like surrender. He works for the Marino family. Nico, they're not. They're not the kind of people you make mistakes with. The Marino family. Even I, invisible translator living in a studio apartment, have heard about the Marino family. They're crime adjacent in the way everyone who pays attention to the news knows. Real estate deals that don't make sense. Politicians who owe them favors. Bodies that surface in the river every few years, never connected to anything concrete. Then what did I translate? My voice sounds very small. A mistake. He made a mistake. He said something he shouldn't have said. And now what? Now you're a problem. The words hit like a physical thing. I am a problem. I am a liability. I am a person who heard something that could have consequences I can't even imagine. What do? I ask. Marcus is quiet for so long, I think the line has disconnected. I don't know, he finally says. I'm going to make some calls. Don't leave your apartment. Don't talk to anyone. And Nico, when they contact you, don't be brave. Just tell them whatever they want to know. He hangs up. I sit in the electric light of my apartment as dawn begins to break gray and thin through my windows. I'm 28 years old, and I understand that my life has transformed into something I don't have the language to translate. The contact comes at 10:47 a.m. My phone rings. Unknown number. I stare at it, my thumb hovering, wondering if answering is capitulation or survival. I answer. Nicoletta. A man's voice. Low. Not the scarred man from the train. Someone else. Who is this? Someone who needs you to come to an address. You have 30 minutes. I'm not going anywhere. I don't even know. 1247 Castellano Drive. Top floor. 30 minutes, or we come to you, and we'll have to bring security, which means you'll have to explain to your neighbors why there's police activity in your building. They know where I live. Of course they know where I live. I write down the address with a hand that doesn't feel like mine. Why? Because the man you translated for wants to talk to you. The line goes dead. I have nothing to pack because going to an unfamiliar address to meet a mafia associate doesn't really have a dress code. I go as I am: jeans, a black sweater, shoes that are comfortable enough to run in if running is even an option. I look in the mirror and barely recognize myself. My face has gone pale and sharp, all cheekbones and wide eyes. I look like prey. The drive takes 20 minutes. The car that picks me up is black and clean and has tinted windows. The driver doesn't speak. We move through the city like we're gliding through someone else's dream, past the neighborhoods I know and into ones I don't, past industrial buildings and high-rise apartments, until we reach a part of the city where the buildings are older and more imposing. Castellano Drive is lined with brownstones that look like they've absorbed decades of secrets into their brick. The building I'm brought to has no street number visible, just a dark door and a man standing beside it, motionless. "This way," he says, and I follow because I don't have a choice that doesn't involve violence. The elevator is marble and mirrors. My reflection multiplies infinitely 1,000 versions of me, all terrified, all trapped. The elevator rises, floor after floor. My ears pop. The top floor is a single apartment. The door opens into a space that steals my breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the entire city. Rain is beginning to fall again, pattering against glass that seems to hold the sky inside it. The apartment is decorated in grays and blacks and deep blues, expensive in a way that doesn't announce itself but instead suggests that money is so much a part of this place that it doesn't need to be mentioned. And there, standing with his back to me, looking out at the rain-soaked city, is the man from the courtroom. "Leave us," he says without turning around. The door closes behind me. I am alone with him. "You can sit," he says. His voice in the courtroom was neutral, professional. Here, in this place, it's something else. Softer, maybe, more dangerous. I prefer to stand. He turns. He's taller than I remember. His eyes are the color of winter water, gray-blue, cold enough to freeze things. He's dressed in a charcoal suit that probably costs more than my monthly rent. He looks at me like he's reading something written on my skin. "My name is Dante Marino," he says. I say nothing. "You're wondering why I brought you here, instead of simply removing you as a problem." My mouth is dry. "Are you going to remove me as a problem?" "That depends." He moves closer, and my instinct is to step back, but I hold my ground. "On whether you're intelligent enough to understand that what you heard in that courtroom was an accident that, if repeated, would result in consequences you cannot comprehend." "I don't want to repeat it. I want to forget it." "Can you?" I think about the way he said it. "The only honor left is the one we don't sell." I think about how it sounded like a confession, like he was speaking to God, like he was apologizing for becoming what he'd become. "No," I tell him honestly. "I don't think I can." Something shifts in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. He reaches out and touches my face just barely, his fingertips against my cheekbone. It's not violent. It's almost gentle, but it's also a demonstration of power, a reminder that he can reach me, can touch me, can do anything he wants, and there's nothing I can do to stop him. "Then we have a problem," he says softly, and I feel it, that pull. That terrible, inexplicable pull toward the thing that's going to destroy me. I stay in the apartment for 3 days. Not locked in? Exactly. The doors aren't barred. But there are men in the hallway, always 2, sometimes 3, and they have the particular stillness of people hired for their ability to do violence quietly. So I don't try to leave. Instead, I exist in this space that smells like expensive leather and the rain outside. I shower in a bathroom with marble floors and fixtures that gleam. I sleep in a bed that's so soft it feels like sinking. There's a kitchen with food, though no one explains how the refrigerator stays stocked. I don't ask. On the morning of the 4th day, Dante finds me on the balcony. I've been standing there for hours, watching the city wake up. The rain has stopped. The sky is the color of wet concrete. I'm wearing one of his shirts. He left it for me when my clothes needed washing, and it's enormous, swallowing my frame, smelling like him in a way that makes my chest tight. "You look better," he says. "Better than what?" "Better than terrified." I turn to face him. He's dressed casually today, dark jeans, a black sweater that clings to his shoulders. His hair is damp, like he's just showered. There's a small scar above his left eye that I didn't notice before, and it humanizes him in a way that's terrifying. "I'm still terrified," I tell him. "I know." He comes to stand beside me at the railing. "But you're not showing it anymore. Should I be hiding it? In this world?" "Yes. Fear makes you predictable. Predictable people don't survive long." I think about this, about the idea that I'm living in a world now where survival is something I have to practice, like a language I'm learning. What world is that, exactly? He's quiet for a long moment. The city breathes around us. One where the law is negotiable, he finally says. Where loyalty is currency and betrayal is punishable by death. Where a single mistake, one thing said in a courtroom that shouldn't have been said, can destroy everything you've built. Why did you say it? He doesn't look at me. He just looks out at the city with an expression so tired it seems to have settled into his bones. Because I was angry. Because I was in a room full of lies, and I forgot that the truth is dangerous. Because for a moment, I wanted to be the man I was before, instead of the man I've become. The vulnerability in this confession startles me. This man who has violence layered into the way he moves, who has men standing outside his door, who brought me here like I was a possession, rather than a person he's admitting to a human weakness. Which one are you now? I ask. Both. Neither. I'm not sure anymore. He turns to look at me, and the expression in his eyes is so raw that I have to look away. This is why I'm terrified of him, not because he can hurt me, but because he's hurting already, and somehow that's worse. There's a car downstairs, he says. I thought you might want to go out, to get some air, to remember what the world looks like beyond these walls. And if I run, you could try, but you'd be caught within 10 blocks. And then I'd have to make an example of you, which would be inefficient and disappointing. It's said so casually that it takes a moment for the threat to register. But you won't run, he continues, and it's not a question, because you're intelligent enough to understand that the only reason you're alive is because I want you to be. He's right. I won't run. We drive through the city in a car with dark-tinted windows. Dante sits beside me, and he doesn't touch me, but his presence is so consuming that it's like he's touching me anyway. The driver takes us through neighborhoods I've never seen, past parks with bare trees and small cafes with steamed windows. Eventually, we stop in front of a bookstore. You like books, Dante says. Marcus mentioned it. Of course he's talked to Marcus. Of course he knows everything about me. How long have you known? I ask. Known what? That I'd end up here, in your life. He considers this. I didn't know. But the moment you translated what I said, I understood the possibility. The inevitability, maybe. Inside the bookstore, he follows me through the aisles like he's guarding me. Like I might dissolve into the pages if he doesn't keep his eyes on me. I run my fingers across the spines of books, reading titles that feel like they belong to a life I used to have. I find a collection of Italian poetry and pull it down. Dante watches as I read the first page. You speak Italian, I say. I was born in Naples. Before the United States, before the Marino family, before any of this. He takes the book from my hands gently and opens to a specific page, like he's done this before. Like he has favorite poems. This one. Read it. I read the Italian aloud. It's about loss, about the way cities can harbor secrets, about the difference between living and merely continuing to exist. When I finish, Dante is looking at me with an expression so open, so entirely without walls, that I understand this is the moment. This is where something shifts between us. This is where I stop being a problem and start being something else entirely. Why are you showing me this? I ask. Because you deserve to know that the man you're terrified of was a boy once. A boy who loved poetry. A boy who believed in things like honor. What happened to him? Life, Dante says simply. Other people's choices, his own. We buy the book. In the car, he holds my hand, not aggressively, not possessively, but like he's afraid I might slip away. His hands are warm. They have calluses that suggest violence has been done by these hands, but they're also gentle in a way I wouldn't have expected. Dominic followed you on purpose, he says as we drive back through the rain that started again. He wanted you to know he was watching. It's a message to me. From who? From my family. From the Russo family. From everyone who thinks I'm becoming soft. Everyone who thinks the man who can be distracted by poetry and bookstores is someone who can be challenged now. Are you becoming soft? Yes, he says, and there's something like despair in his voice. You're making me soft. And if this family finds out, they'll kill you to prove a point. I should be more afraid than I am. I should be planning escapes. Instead, I interlock my fingers with his and hold on. Then I guess we both need to be careful, I say. The rain pounds against the windows. The city disappears behind sheets of water. And in the darkness of the car, I feel something shift inside me, the moment when survival becomes something more complicated than I know how to name. The first threat arrives on the 5th day. It's an envelope left on the table in the main living area. No postage, no explanation, just Dante's name, written in block letters, and inside, a photograph. It's me, sleeping in the bed in Dante's apartment. The photo is taken from outside the window, from the balcony of another building, from a distance that makes my skin feel like it's crawling with invisible hands. On the back, a single line in Italian. She's a liability. Act accordingly, or we will. When was this taken? I ask, my voice very small. Yesterday morning. Maybe the morning before. Dante's jaw is tight, and there's an energy coming off him that's different from before. This isn't the man who showed me poetry. This is someone else. Someone capable of things I don't want to imagine. They're watching me. They're watching me through you, he corrects, making a point. Testing to see if I'll choose family over. He stops, doesn't finish the sentence. Over what? Over you. The answer hangs between us, weighted with implications. His phone rings. He answers in Italian, and what follows is a conversation conducted entirely in a language I understand but pretend not to. I catch fragments. Impossible. Already moving. Containment. The Russo family doesn't negotiate. After he hangs up, he tells me we're leaving. Where? I ask. Away. Somewhere they can't find you. Somewhere I can protect you without it looking like protection. The word protection implies that something is coming. Something dangerous enough that being watched isn't the worst thing that can happen. We drive for hours, leaving the city behind. The landscape becomes rural forests, small towns with single traffic lights, mountains rising in the distance. It's beautiful in a way that feels cruel. Like the world doesn't understand that some people don't get to experience beauty without fear attached to it. The house is isolated. 3 stories, built into a hillside, surrounded by trees that have shed all their leaves. It's winter now, and the world is gray and stark and utterly alone. This belonged to my father, Dante tells me as we walk through the empty rooms. Before he died. Before the family business became complicated. How did he die? Dante doesn't answer immediately. He leads me into a study where books line the walls, where a fireplace dominates one side of the room, where there's a photo on the mantle of a man who looks like Dante but softer, less burdened. He refused to do something the family wanted. A job, a killing. He said he was done with that life, that he wanted his son to have better options. Dante picks up the photo, studies his father's face like he's searching for something he's lost. They gave him better options. They made sure there wasn't much left of him to bury. Dante. I was 14. I watched them bring his body back. I understood very clearly that there were no options. There was only power or death. So you chose power. I chose to survive. We spend the night in this isolated house, and there's something almost domestic about it, the way he builds a fire, the way he makes dinner in a kitchen that's clearly hadn't been used in years, the way he doesn't try to touch me except when I ask him to. Around midnight, I find him on the back porch, smoking a cigarette. I didn't know you smoked, I say. I don't, not usually. He takes another drag and tosses the cigarette away. Fear makes you do things you wouldn't normally do. You're afraid? I'm terrified, he says. Of what I've become. Of what I'm capable of. Of the fact that you make me want to be someone different. And I'm not sure that person exists anymore. I stand beside him in the cold night air, and I think about the translation I gave in that courtroom. About how the single sentence I spoke aloud has brought us to this isolated house where the world has fallen away. There's something I never told you, Dante continues. About why I needed you translated. About the contract dispute. Tell me now. The man suing me, Russo, he did business with the Marino family for 15 years. We made money together. But I found out he was working with the feds. Setting up my uncle. Setting up operations that would bring the entire family down. I understand suddenly that the hearing wasn't about a contract at all. The man you said wouldn't sell his honor, I say slowly. That was a message to Russo. A warning. A reminder that some of us still value things beyond money and power. He looks at me. It was also a confession. I sold my honor years ago, Nicoletta, and I'm not sure how to buy it back. By not selling mine, I say. You're here because of me. Because I wanted you to hear me. Because I wanted someone to know that I'm not entirely corrupt. You brought me here because you needed a witness to your humanity, I say, and it's not cruel, it's observation. You needed proof that you're capable of valuing something other than power. And are you that proof? I think about the answer for a long moment. I think about the life I had before, small and safe and utterly forgettable. I think about the man I'm standing next to, who commits violence and protects kingdoms built on illegal foundations. Yes, I tell him, I'm proof. But Dante, they're going to kill me to erase that proof. I know, and you're going to let them? I'm going to do everything in my power to stop them. He turns to face me fully, and there's something like resolve crystallizing in his expression. But if it comes down to a choice between you and the family, I'm choosing you. Do you understand what that means? It means war. It means choosing destruction over duty. It means sacrificing everything for a person you've known for less than a week. Yes, I whisper. I understand. He pulls me close, and he holds me like I'm something fragile that might break. But I can feel his heartbeat steady, powerful, dangerous against my chest. And I understand that this man isn't fragile at all. He's just surrendered. He's made the choice that will end everything, and now he's holding it like a grenade he can't put down. I'm sorry, he says into my hair. For what? For dragging you into this. For not being stronger. For wanting you anyway. Don't apologize, I tell him. Just protect me. I will. Whatever it takes. That night, the walls close in. The isolation that felt peaceful earlier now feels like a trap. And in the darkness of this house full of ghosts, I understand that there is no safety. There's only choosing between different kinds of danger and hoping you choose someone worth dying for. On the third day at the house, the electricity goes out. It's subtle at first, the lights flickering, the hum of the refrigerator cutting off. But when Dante goes to check the breaker, he comes back with a different expression, darker, more controlled. It's been cut, he says simply. Deliberately. We have maybe an hour of natural light left. After that, there's only the fireplace and the candles Dante locates in the kitchen drawers. He fills every room with flame, and the effect is medieval, claustrophobic, like we're living inside a ghost story. The phone dies next. No signal, he says after holding it up to every window in the house. This was deliberate too. They're isolating us. They're testing me, seeing if I'll panic, seeing if I'll make a mistake. But Dante doesn't panic. He becomes something else, methodical, efficient, frightening. He checks every door and window, confirms they're locked, positions furniture in ways that create barriers and sightlines. He moves through the house like he's already mapped its violence, like he's played out scenarios of attack and defense so many times they're muscle memory. We're safe here, he tells me. But we both know it's a lie. Night falls completely. The house becomes a cavern of shadows and firelight. We sit in the study, and Dante tells me about the Marino family, the structure, the alliances, the enemies. He tells me about his uncle, who made him captain of security by the time he was 23. He tells me about the body count that got him there. I've killed 15 people, he says quietly. That I can prove. There are probably more I don't remember, or I was told about after the fact. At what point does someone become unforgivable? When they stop being able to imagine forgiveness. I say, and can you imagine forgiving me? I think about the dead people he's made. I think about the violence in his hands. I think about the fact that he's capable of tenderness only because he's capable of cruelty first. I'm trying to, I tell him honestly. Around midnight. There's a sound outside. Dante moves instantly, pulling me away from the window, pressing me against the wall behind a heavy bookcase. He doesn't say anything, but his hand goes to his jacket, and I see the shape of a gun become visible. The sound comes again, a branch snapping. An animal, maybe, or someone moving through the woods. We wait. The firelight flickers across his face, and I can see the calculation happening behind his eyes, the calculation of probability and survival and how many people he can kill before they kill him. It's nothing, he finally says, but he doesn't move his arm from around me. Just the wind. But we both know it's not just the wind. We don't sleep that night. We sit together in the darkness, and he teaches me how to shoot a gun. His hands guide mine, positioning my fingers, showing me where the safety is, explaining how to aim for center mass because aiming for the head is what untrained people do. If it comes to it, he says, and it's you or someone else, you don't hesitate. You don't think about it. You pull the trigger. I don't know if I can do that. You can. People are capable of surprising things when their life depends on it. My entire life has become about proximity. The weight of his shoulder against mine, the warmth of his body when we sit by the fire, the way his voice sounds when he says my name carefully, like he's afraid of breaking something. On the fourth day, the snow starts. It falls thick and fast, covering the world in white, erasing the trees and the mountains, and everything that might provide shelter or escape. The house becomes an island, and we're the only two people on it. It's beautiful, I say, watching from the window. It's a siege, Dante says. Snow is coverage, muffles sound, makes it harder to see what's coming, but then he comes to stand beside me, and he wraps his arms around me from behind, and he rests his chin on top of my head. We're going to die here, I say. It's not a question. Maybe. Or maybe we're going to survive and have to live with the consequences of every choice we've made. Which would be worse? I don't know yet. He turns me to face him, and his hands are on my face, and this is different from before. This isn't tenderness. This is desperation. This is someone holding on to something they know they're about to lose. I need you to know something, he says. Before this ends, I need you to know that the best moments of my life have been with you. That you're the only person who's ever made me believe I could be something other than what I am. Dante, let me finish. I'm going to call my uncle. I'm going to tell him I'm stepping down from the family. I'm going to tell him I'm done with the violence and the power and all of it. And he's going to give me an option. I can disappear, or I can die. If you step down, they'll think it's because of me. They'll come after me even more. I know. You can't do that. I can, and I am. He pulls me closer, and his mouth finds mine, and it's nothing like I expected. It's not gentle. It's fierce and desperate, and tasting like goodbye. If we're going to die, I want to die as someone different, someone who chose you over everything. I kiss him back because what else is there to do? The world has narrowed to this moment, this room, this man who's chosen destruction over dynasty. I love you, I tell him, and it's true in a way that terrifies me, which is the worst decision I've ever made. I know. I'm sorry. The phone suddenly crackles to life. Power restored, signal returned. Dante checks it, and his expression goes completely still. It's done, he says. I sent the message. There's no going back now. The wind howls outside, and the snow keeps falling, and I hold on to him like I can stop what's coming just by refusing to let go. The response comes in the form of a video message. Dante watches it alone at first, then calls me into the study. His face is completely drained of color. You need to see this, he says, and his voice is shaking in a way I've never heard it shake before. The video shows Marcus. He's in some kind of warehouse, tied to a chair, and there's blood on his face. But he's alive. And when he sees the camera, there's a message in his eyes. A voice speaks in Italian, translated in subtitles. Your resignation has been noted, but resignations require a price. This translator of yours, this Nicoletta, she's a loose end. Send her to the warehouse on Castellano by midnight tomorrow, or your friend dies. Painfully, the video ends. I'm shaking before I fully understand what I'm looking at. Marcus. They have Marcus. They're using him as leverage because Dante loves him, or because Dante has any human connection at all, or because they need to hurt him, in a way that matters. We're not giving them what they want, I say immediately. Of course not. So Marcus dies. Maybe. Dante's voice is very quiet. Or maybe I'm already preparing for this. Maybe I knew they'd use someone against me the moment I made my choice. What are you saying? He stands and walks to the window. The snow has stopped, and the world is crystalline and sharp and utterly frozen. My uncle called while you were sleeping this morning. He said Marcus has been working with the Russo family. He's been helping them. My uncle wanted to know if I knew, and when I said yes, he said it was proof that I'm making bad decisions and I should step down immediately. The betrayal takes a moment to register. Marcus is working against you? Marcus is working to survive. It's the same thing, in the end. Can you get him out? Dante turns to face me, and there's something like sadness in his expression. I can, but it will cost me. How much? Everything. He sits down at the desk and begins to write orders in Italian, detailed and specific. He's dismantling something, calling in every favor, burning every bridge, cashing in decades of power and loyalty to do one thing: save Marcus. By the time he's finished, his legacy is ashes. The warehouse raid will happen in 4 hours, he says. My men will get Marcus out. But when they do, I'll have just attacked family infrastructure. I'll have declared war. And what happens to us? We run. The word hits me like a physical thing. Running means leaving the country. Running means never stopping moving. Running means a life spent looking over our shoulders. For how long? I ask. Forever, probably. Or until someone finds us. He stands and pulls me into his arms, and he holds me like I'm the only solid thing in a disintegrating world. I'm sorry, he says. I'm so sorry. I brought you into this, And now I'm asking you to abandon everything to survive with me. I don't have anything to abandon, I tell him. My job, my apartment, my friends, none of it was real. None of it was mine. But this is the only thing that's been real since I heard your voice in that courtroom. That's not love. That's trauma bonding. Maybe. But maybe trauma is the most honest thing that can happen between two people. Maybe everything else is just noise. He kisses me then, and it's different from before. It's not desperate or fierce. It's something like tenderness, something like acceptance. It's the kiss of someone who's finally stopped fighting and decided to surrender. We pack quickly, just documents and money and the things that have no weight but are everything. I put on layers of clothes, and Dante checks the gun again, and we wait. The text comes at 11:47 p.m. Marcus is secure. Moving to secondary location. You have a window. Go. We leave immediately. The roads are empty, and Dante drives like someone who's done this before, fast but not recklessly, taking turns that avoid main routes, moving through the city like he knows every alley and backstreet by name. Behind us, I can hear sirens. Ahead, I can see nothing but darkness and the forward stretch of road that's supposed to lead somewhere safe. It's done, Dante says. I've burned it all down. Do you regret it? He glances over at me, and in the ambient light from the dashboard, I can see the exhaustion carved into his face. This is what humanity looks like on him, the armor of violence cracked open, the man underneath revealed. Ask me in 10 years, he says. We cross state lines as dawn breaks. We stop only for gas and coffee, and Dante uses cash, and he changes his appearance, cutting his hair short, dyeing it a different color, adopting a posture that's less threatening. By the time we reach the safe house on the coast, he's someone new, someone I almost don't recognize. But when he reaches for my hand, it's the same hands, the same man. Whatever happens, I tell him, I'm here. I know, he says. That's what terrifies me. The safe house is on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic. It's small, a cottage, really, with weathered wood and windows that face nothing but ocean and sky. Dante has keys, and he explains that his father bought it decades ago, for exactly this purpose, somewhere to disappear if the world came apart. The world has come apart, and we're sitting in his father's ghost. For 3 days, we hide. We don't leave. We don't turn on the news. Dante uses a burner phone to check messages, and each time he does, his expression becomes heavier. On the 4th day, Marcus arrives. He looks broken. His arm is in a sling, and there's a bandage on his head, and something in his eyes has changed. Something has been hurt that won't heal. I'm sorry, Dante says immediately. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from. I betrayed you, Marcus says flatly. I don't know why you're apologizing to me. Because I left you exposed. Because I brought you into this life and then abandoned you when it got dangerous. Marcus looks between Dante and me, and there's something like understanding in his gaze. You're leaving the family for her? It's not a question. Yes, Dante says. They're putting a $500,000 hit on your head. The Russo family, the Marino family, probably everyone else who's made money off your operations. They want you dead and dismembered as a message to anyone else who thinks about stepping out of line. The words should terrify me more than they do. But I'm so far beyond fear now that it's almost like I'm existing on a different plane. I know, Dante says. I expected that. You expected it? Marcus stands, his good arm shaking. You expected it, and you're just sitting here in this cottage, like the world isn't actively trying to kill you. What would you have me do? Keep running? Keep hiding? There's no life in that. There's only survival. And survival isn't worth the cost of becoming what I've become. You've always been what you've become. You just didn't admit it before. The accusation hangs in the air between them, and I realize, suddenly, that Marcus is grieving not for Dante, but for the person he thought Dante was before, for the version of Dante that wasn't cracking under the weight of loving me. Is that why you betrayed him? I ask. Because he wasn't the person you wanted him to be? Marcus turns to me. You don't understand this world. You don't understand what's required to survive it. Dante didn't until you made him soft. I didn't make him anything, I say. He chose to become human. There's a difference. No, Marcus says. There isn't. In this world, being human is being dead. He leaves that night. Dante doesn't try to stop him. Instead, Dante and I sit on the deck as the sun sets orange and violent over the water, and he tells me things he's never told me before. He tells me about the first person he killed, a man named Carmine who worked for a rival family. It was a test proof that Dante was willing to do what was necessary. He was 19. He remembers the way Carmine's eyes went still. He tells me about the woman he almost married before the family made him choose between marriage and loyalty. He chose loyalty. Her name was Allegra, and she married someone else. And Dante destroyed that marriage out of spite, because he couldn't have her. He destroyed her out of grief. He tells me about Marcus's brother, who was killed not by rivals but by the Marino family, as punishment for Marcus's small failure in a deal, and how Dante watched it happen and did nothing because doing nothing was the price of power. I've done terrible things, Dante says. Things that haunt me more now than they did when I was doing them because I'm finally allowing myself to be haunted. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Because you need to understand what you're binding yourself to. You need to understand that loving me doesn't redeem my past. It doesn't erase the people I've hurt. I know. Do you? Do you really? Because I'm a murderer, Nicoletta. I'm a criminal. I'm someone who should have been locked away years ago or buried in a concrete foundation. Yes, I say. And you're also someone who's trying to be better. Someone who chose to give up everything rather than hurt me. Someone who's vulnerable enough to sit here and tell me his sins. That doesn't balance the equation. No, I agree. Nothing balances the equation. But I don't need balance. I need you. And I need you to need me. And I need us to build something here, in this cottage on a cliff, that resembles a life. He kisses me then, and it's tender in a way that makes me ache. But then his phone vibrates. The message is from his uncle. The contract on your life has been shared with 12 organizations across 3 continents. You have 48 hours maximum before someone collects. I suggest you disappear entirely. Or die fighting. Those are the only options left. Dante reads it and laughs. It's a sound without humor. So this is what the end looks like, he says. Not a bang, but a quiet morning in a cottage that was built for exactly this moment. We can keep running. We can't. There are too many people looking for us now. Too many people with nothing to lose. He stands and walks into the cottage. I follow him, and he goes to a safe hidden in the floor of the bedroom. He opens it and pulls out an envelope full of cash, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and another envelope full of documents. Passports with our faces and different names, visas for countries that don't have extradition treaties with the United States. Plan B, he says. The thing my father left me for, when the family inevitably turned on me. New identities, new country, new life. What country? Italy. Small village in Tuscany. My father had friends there. People who owe him favors. When do we leave? Tomorrow morning. As soon as there's light enough to get to the airport. That night, we make love for the first time. Not desperately, not with the intensity of survival, but slowly, carefully, like we're learning a new language together. Like we're making a promise that transcends words. And afterward, when he's sleeping, I lie awake and think about what it means to choose someone over survival. To choose love as an act of defiance against a world that says love is a weakness. The breaking point isn't when trust shatters. It's when you realize trust was never the foundation at all. We don't make it to the airport. They find us at dawn, a black SUV pulling up to the cottage with 4 men, followed by another vehicle with 2 more. Professional, efficient. I watch them from the bedroom window as Dante pulls on clothes and reaches for the gun. Pack a bag, he says calmly. 30 seconds. Only what you can carry. I do as he says. My hands are steady. Panic seems to have burned itself out somewhere in the last week, leaving only a crystalline clarity. The back stairs, Dante says. There's a path down to the rocks. It's steep, but it's climbable. Go. Come with me. I'm going to buy us time. There's a knock on the door, not violent, just deliberate. Dante Marino, a voice calls out. This is final notice from the Russo family. You have 5 minutes to come out with Nicoletta. After that, we come in. Dante kisses me, and it's brief, and it tastes like goodbye. I run. The back stairs are narrow and steep. I can hear the front door being kicked in as I'm pulling on my jacket. I can hear shouting in Italian and English. I can hear a gunshot. The path down the cliff is loose rock and scrub brush. I'm sliding more than climbing, my hands scraping raw, my eyes on the ocean below that's restless and gray and waiting. Behind me, more gunshots, muffled by distance, and the sounds of the ocean, but unmistakable. I make it to the rocks just as they find me. It's the scarred man from the train, Dominic. He's got a gun, and he's moving down the path with practiced ease, and there's no mercy in his expression. The boss wants you alive, he calls out, but I've got discretion on how alive. I scramble across the rocks, my shoes slipping on the wet stone. Below is the ocean, a drop of 40 feet that would be death or luck depending on where I land. Nicoletta, Dominic says, getting closer. Just make this easy. Come back inside. Maybe you live, maybe you don't. But at least there's a chance. I keep moving. I'm scrambling toward the edge, and Dominic is speeding up, and I understand suddenly that I'm about to make a choice that will either kill me or save me. I jump. I'm falling. And there's time for one clear thought: this is how it ends before I'm in the water. It's cold enough to steal my breath. I go under, and the Atlantic has a voice, and it's saying nothing and everything at once. I'm disoriented, not sure which way is up, my clothes heavy, my lungs burning. Then hands grab me. Dante. He pulls me toward the surface, and we break through gasping, and there's a motorboat cutting through the water toward us, one of Dante's emergency contacts. Probably. Someone who knew the plan might go sideways. Dante shoves me toward the boat, but Dominic is on the rocks above, and he's got his gun raised, and he fires. The bullet catches Dante in the shoulder. I watch him jerk, watch the blood bloom across his shirt, watch him keep moving anyway, shoving me into the boat, covering me with his body, as another bullet screams past. Go! He screams at the driver, and the boat lunges forward. I'm soaked and shaking and screaming his name, but he's already looking back at the rocks, at Dominic standing there with the gun, at the cottage behind him where some kind of violence is still happening. They got you, I say, my hands on his shoulder where the blood is spreading. Oh God, they got you. I know, Dante says. His voice is steady, but there's pain in his eyes. Grab something and apply pressure. We need to get to the safe harbor. The safe harbor? 10 miles south. There's a private dock. Another car waiting. We keep moving. I'm ripping fabric from my own shirt, pressing it against his wound. And I'm watching his face drain of color. And I'm understanding that this is the moment when protection becomes real, when the theoretical violence becomes actual flesh and actual blood. Stay with me, I tell him. Dante, stay with me. I'm here, he says, and he reaches for my face with his uninjured hand, and he's looking at me like I'm the most important thing he's ever seen. The boat cuts through rough water. The driver doesn't speak. He just moves us southward, away from the cottage, away from the violence. The wound is bad. I can tell by the way Dante's breathing is changing, by the way his skin is turning ashen. By the time we reach the private dock, he's barely conscious. The safe harbor is a warehouse converted into a medical facility. There's a doctor waiting, older, experienced, someone who's patched up Dante before. He takes one look at the wound and says, "The bullet's still in there. We need to get it out, and we need to do it now." They put Dante on a table in a room that smells like antiseptic and fear. I'm told to wait outside. I sit in the waiting area for 6 hours. When the doctor finally emerges, he looks exhausted. He's stable, he says. The bullet missed the subclavian artery by about 2 millimeters. Another inch, and he'd have bled out before you got to the dock. Can I see him? He's sedated, but yes, you can sit with him. Dante looks small in the medical bed. Smaller than I've ever seen him. The violence that usually radiates from him has been temporarily suspended by unconsciousness, and what's left is just a man, just skin and bone and breath. I sit beside him and take his uninjured hand, and I think about the moment when he jumped into the water. I think about the way he covered me without hesitation. I think about the fact that he took a bullet so that I could survive. This is what it means to be loved by someone capable of violence. It means being willing to accept protection that costs something real. He wakes on the 3rd day. His eyes open slowly, like he's surfacing from something deep. For a moment, he doesn't recognize me, and I can see the confusion in his gaze. Then comprehension returns, and with it, pain. "Water," he says hoarsely. I help him drink, and his throat works, and his eyes find mine. "Did we make it?" he asks. "We made it to the dock. The rest is still in progress." How long was I out? 3 days. He tries to sit up, and I press him back gently. "You need rest," the doctor said. I don't care what the doctor said. We need to move. They know about this place. They'll come. They don't. The doctor confirmed it. This facility is off the books. Nobody knows we're here. He relaxes, but only slightly. The tension in his body is a permanent thing now, I think. The cost of living in a world where safety is always temporary. "How bad?" he asks, looking down at his shoulder. "Bad enough. They got the bullet out. You bled a lot, but you're going to heal. And then what?" The question hangs between us. And then what? A future where we're hunted. A future where every moment of peace is borrowed. A future where love is an act of defiance against probability. We go to Italy, I tell him. We become different people. We build something small and quiet. You'd give up your entire life for that. I already did. The moment I got on that train. He reaches for my face with his good hand, and his fingers trace my cheekbone, my jaw, my mouth. It's tender in a way that breaks something inside me. I'm a murderer, he says softly. I'm a man who's done unconscionable things. I know. And you still want this? I still want you. Despite everything. Maybe because of everything. He pulls me toward him, and I move carefully, mindful of his wound. He kisses me like it's prayer and apology combined. Like it's the only language left that can express what he feels. The physical intimacy we share that night is different from before. It's slower, more tender, complicated by pain and careful movement. But it's profound in a way that the desperate coupling before wasn't. This is vulnerability, at its most extreme, him allowing me to see him hurt. Him allowing me to help. Us moving together with the knowledge that this moment might be stolen, that the next moment might bring violence. When we're done, we lie together in the narrow medical bed, and he tells me about his childhood, about his mother, who was kind and quiet, and didn't survive the family business, finding out she was his father's weak point, about growing up surrounded by money and fear in equal measure, about being trained from childhood to be a weapon. I was never given a choice, he says. But I had a choice with you. I could have killed you to contain the threat. I could have used you and discarded you. I could have done 1,000 terrible things that would have protected me. But you didn't, because you made me remember that I was human before I was a Merino, that somewhere inside this body is a boy who loved poetry and believed in honor. That boy is still in there, I say. I hope so. For your sake, I hope so. The escape to Italy happens quietly. There's a boat that leaves from a private marina at night. There's a cargo ship that takes us across the Atlantic. There are forged documents and cash and the infrastructure of Dante's father's contingency plans. By the time we arrive in Tuscany, Dante has healed enough to move without visible pain. Though I know it's still there. I can see it in the way he moves, in the careful breathing, in the moments where his eyes go distant. The village is small, just a few streets clustered around a fountain, houses made of stone that's centuries old. The cottage that Dante's father left for him is on the edge of town, surrounded by olive groves and cypress trees. It's beautiful in a way that feels obscene, given what we've survived to get here. We have names, Dante says, showing me the papers. Marco and Juliana. You're a translator. I'm a writer. We're here for the peace and the quiet. Are those the stories we'll tell? They're the only stories that matter now. We settle into the cottage like we're learning how to live from scratch. There are routines to establish morning coffee on the terrace overlooking the valley, walks through the village where nobody looks at us twice, evenings reading by the fire. But the fear doesn't go away. It's just quiet now, dormant. Sometimes Dante wakes in the night with his hand on the gun he keeps beside the bed. Sometimes I catch him watching strangers too carefully, assessing threat levels in a way that's become automatic. We're safe here, I tell him one afternoon, and he laughs. We're never safe. We're just lucky. And luck runs out. Is that what this is? I ask. Luck? He takes my hand and pulls me to him. This is defiance. This is two people who had no reason to love each other, choosing each other anyway. This is the middle finger we're giving to a world that tried to destroy us. That's a good definition of luck, I say. That night, we make love in the bed that's now ours, slowly, carefully, with the knowledge that tomorrow might bring danger, but tonight brings peace. 6 months pass like a dream. We've built something resembling a life. I do translation work through a carefully vetted channel. Dante has actually started writing stories about men who step out of the darkness and don't know how to exist in the light. The locals know us as a quiet couple who keep to themselves and occasionally host quiet dinners. It's domestic. It's boring. It's perfect. Then Marcus finds us. He arrives on a Tuesday, appearing at our door like a ghost. He's different than I, remember harder somehow, damaged in ways that aren't visible but are evident in every movement. I shouldn't be here, he says immediately. But I needed you to know. Know what? Dante asks, and there's suspicion in his voice. The Russo family is dead. All of them. Someone took them down from the inside, your uncle. Actually, he decided that losing you was less of a threat than losing a war with a rival organization, so he cut them down and blamed you. He's using the attack as proof that you were a liability from the start. Dante is very still. And the contract? Expired. Nobody wants to kill you anymore. You're not a threat because you disappeared. You're just a myth now. The man who stepped out of the family and vanished. Why are you here? I ask. Because I needed to tell you that I'm sorry. Because I needed to know that you were safe. Because... Marcus pauses, and there's something like grief in his expression. Because I'm the only person from my old life who's going to survive it, and I didn't want to be the only survivor. Dante pulls Marcus into an embrace, and I can see his shoulders shake. Marcus holds him like he's afraid Dante might disappear if he lets go. When they separate, Marcus looks at me, and there's understanding in his gaze. You made him happy, Marcus says. I wasn't sure anyone could do that. I tried, I say. That's enough. Marcus leaves the next morning. He has business to attend to, he says, though I suspect it's more complicated than that. But before he leaves, Dante walks him to the car, and they have a conversation I'm not part of. When Dante comes back inside, there's something resolved in his expression. That chapter is closed, he says. Is it? It has to be. Because if I keep one foot in that world, I'll end up back in it. I'll end up becoming the person I was. That night, we sit on the terrace overlooking the Tuscan Valley, and Dante tells me something he's never told me before. I've been thinking about starting over, he says. Completely. New names, new documents, new country. I thought we were starting over. We are, but I want to go further. I want to disappear so completely that nobody could ever trace us. I want to be a person without a past. Is that possible? Maybe not, but I want to try. It's then that I understand something profound. Dante will spend the rest of his life trying to escape what he was, and I'll spend the rest of my life helping him, or trying to, or sometimes failing when the darkness in him rises up and threatens to consume the light. But that's okay. That's what loving someone means. 6 months later, we disappear again. New country, Spain. New names, Elena and Carlos. New life, even quieter, even more removed from the world. We don't have internet. We don't watch news. We live in a small apartment in a coastal town, and Dante works at a bookstore, and I teach language classes. To everyone around us, we're just a couple, just a man and a woman trying to build something peaceful. But at night, when we're alone, I still see the violence in him. I still see the man who's capable of terrible things. I still see the mafia boss who chose love over dynasty, and I love him anyway, not in spite of it, because of it. Because somewhere in the intersection of his darkness and my light, we found something that resembles redemption. Not forgiveness, I'm not sure forgiveness exists for the things he's done, but acceptance, a mutual agreement to build a life together despite the cost. On our anniversary, not of our actual meeting, but of the day we jumped into the Atlantic, we sit on a beach and watch the sun set. Do you regret it? I ask him. Any of it? He thinks about this seriously. I regret the people I hurt. I regret the choices that led me to violence, but I don't regret the moment I saw you in that courtroom. I don't regret choosing you, even though it cost you everything. Everything I lost was built on blood and lies, he says. What we're building is built on truth. That's worth every sacrifice. I rest my head on his shoulder, and we watch the sun disappear into the ocean. Somewhere in the world, there are people still looking for him. Somewhere there's the ghost of the man he was, haunting the infrastructure he built. But here, in this moment, on this beach, with this man who holds me like I'm the last real thing in his world here, there is only peace. Here, there is only the choice we made. Over and over, day after day, to keep choosing each other. To keep building something from the wreckage of violence and power and fear. When he kisses me, I taste salt from the ocean and the bitterness of everything he survived. But I also taste something like hope. In the Mafia, they talk about family as a permanent thing. A birthright, a destiny that can't be escaped. But Dante and I have learned something different. Family is a choice. Love is a choice. And redemption is possible not as erasure, but as continuation. As the daily decision to become someone better than you were yesterday. The sun is gone now. The sky is purple and then black. Stars begin to emerge. And in the darkness, we hold each other, and we don't talk about the past, and we don't worry about the future. We just exist in the present, two people who were supposed to destroy each other, choosing instead to save. That's the only ending that matters.